The developer is on and his attorney. So if you want to put, fill out this, and we can, he is on. All right, well, if everyone's ready, we will call the village board meeting to order. Roll call vote. Jessica, please
Jessica
call.
Blair, present.
Jessica,
Trustees Duback, here. Kern,
here.
Crone,
Here.
Moreno, here. Ford, here. President Seacard,
Here. Thank you very much.
Garn, here.
Garn, I apologize.
Not this again.
You're very much welcome. I ask everyone, please stand for the pledge of allegiance. Remove your hats. The pledge of allegiance to the
the
flag
flag of the United States of America, and to the republic in which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and liberty and justice for all.
Next, we have public comment on agenda items. 2 minutes per person, 14 minutes per topic. Is there anyone wishing to make comment on agenda items?
Yes,
Yes.
I don't know which.
You go ahead and say where you are.
That'd be loud.
Yeah, just
Exactly what you.
Bob, just for the record, figure your name.
Okay, I don't know which one is following, but we brought it up last time. I'm speaking for Marge about her idea of having that damn picture put on that, there's a post there for a billboard down there that goes along with the walking tour.
Okay, okay.
And you said you talked to Christine, if there's any funds left from that project, and there aren't any funds left, I talked to her, and there's no
Yeah.
funds left. But it would only cost less than $500.
Okay,
And I would be willing to pay for it, whether they reimburse me or not.
but I think we need to talk to the library board. They have to grant the funds, and the public works committee or public works director has to grant the
No,
sign it.
there is no grant money, that's all.
That's what I'm saying. They have to allocate, the funds have to be awarded or are received by the library board.
Well, that's what I'm saying, they had a grant money for that walking tour, and that was all used up, so, you know, just to get it.
That's not on the agenda, so I can't talk about it. But your point is taken. We'll follow up with it, but
Okay.
yeah. Hey, thanks, Bob.
Yeah.
I appreciate you bringing that back up, though. I just, we can't talk about it because it is not on the agenda.
Okay, but I'm just, if there wouldn't need any grant money, really, for $500.
I understand it, and I really don't mean to cut you off. I truly do appreciate public input, but we have to restrict it to agenda items. Like, I know that's sounds unfair, but that's how it goes.
You know, if we put on the agenda for the next meeting then,
I would refer to the library board. That'd be probably the appropriate step, and I can have a discussion with the library director and the library board. Because at this point, you know, they have to allocate the funds, or, you know, and if there's a donation, great. So, but again, yeah.
well, I don't know why you have to talk to the library, when it can just, for $500, the town can just pay the $500 and go through them, it's not their, it's not their project.
We'll get it figured out. We'll get it figured out.
Yes, not the library's project at all.
We'll get it figured out. We'll work on it. Any other public comment? Any other public comment? Anyone on Zoom wish for public comment? And seeing none. Close public comment. Item 4, seek a motion and a second for approval of agenda or any questions.
I'll make motion to approve the agenda.
Second. Marino gets this one. Motion by Chris Dubek, second by Chris Dubek, or the other way around. Motion by Chris Dubek, second by Chris Marino for approval of agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All say no. Approval agenda is carried. The next item is a presentation by the Somerset Champions Council on their community branding proposals. And turn it over to Becca Whitlock and give her a minute to get the technology.
I'm ready.
Okay.
Jessica? Okay.
Well, good evening. My name is Becca Whitlock, for those of you who may not know who I am. I currently volunteer as the marketing and communications lead for the Somerset Champions Council. And this is my son Jake, who's here to assist me as needed. Thank you all for being here tonight, and I want to just take a moment to thank you for serving our community. I know it's a sacrifice for you and for your loved ones because of the time that you it takes away from you being with each other. So thank you to you and your families for all that you do. I also wanted to thank you for the opportunity to share with you the ideas and visions that we as the Somerset Champions Council have for a comprehensive, consistent, and cohesive municipal branding and marketing plan. That's a mouthful. I promise we'll make an acronym or something. This has been a labor of love for about over a year and a half, and I've found the project both challenging and also very fulfilling. So I appreciate the opportunity to do this and present it with you tonight. Jake's gonna hand out a side packet to each of you. Over the last 5 years, I've experienced some health issues, and so I have trouble with memory recall and speaking efficiently. So I could respectfully, and I don't know if you would ask questions in between, but if you could keep your questions until I'm done, and then I'm more happy, then I can. It helps me just not to be interrupted and have to get back to it. So I appreciate that. Okay. I'm very nervous. I'm shaking. All right.
You're doing fine.
Next, please. Municipal branding is a powerful tool that can elevate a place's economic status, attract tourists, secure companies and investors, and help further shape a close-knit community and more. Next, please. Because this is the original branding kit from Adding Advantage, there were a lot of words and paragraphs that were redundant, in my opinion, and didn't really speak very well to who we are and what community values and goals we had at the time and then also now. But we're going to be, we have purposely tried to be sensitive and fiscally responsible to the previous board of trustees, the village employees, the residents and volunteers who worked on that project. We've picked and pulled apart everything we could possibly use that we feel we could use from that original project and tweaked it to be relevant and then use it for the foundation for what we're creating and proposing tonight. I'm not going to read all of this. You'll have it in your packet, and then this is going to be made, obviously it's recording, and then it'll be made public. I think the champions are going to post it too, so it'll be out there. People can look at it and read it. But I did want to just mention that there's going to be 5 reasons in our proposal that we're going to introduce for why people should consider Somerset as a location to live, work, play, and visit. And the first is nostalgia. Somerset evokes the joy of a nostalgic time or place. I know as a transplant, I've heard many stories from many people about growing up here and the things that they have done, and I've been able to partake with my family in some of those and create new memories, but clearly it's been going on, you know, it's sort of a generational thing as well. So that seems to be something that Somerset really truly excels at, is sort of the nostalgia piece. We have a strong sense of community. We're sort of a community family. Families don't always get along. They disagree with each other. But when push comes to shove, Somerset really bonds together. I know personally, when there were, I think there were a few years back, there was 4 houses that caught on fire and they were displaced. That the community just came together. I mean, it was just so touching and moving to see. And I've heard of many examples of other places. You know, I know there's been an accident this week and people are helping that family out. So when push comes to shove, we have a really strong sense of community, family, and tradition. And that's something that we should be proud of. Outdoors, enough said, right? Like, we're just in a prime location. It's beautiful in the fall. We've got the beautiful 2 rivers that flow through. We've got thriving civic organizations that kind of promote the outdoors. We don't really tell it very well. And so having that part of a branding and marketing package can help improve that. So that's one of the pillars. Thriving and growing. How excited are we to have a new building and businesses coming to downtown? It has been, gosh, I've been here 16 years, and the whole process of watching and being on committees for that's really exciting. And we have some amazing businesses that have already been, you know, that are in the community, but this just kind of revitalizes everything, right? Just kind of gets people excited again. And I just, you know who you are, but thank you for those who are working on that project. I know that's a difficult one, but I can see Somerset thriving and growing. Oh, I forgot to say next. Could you do next 2 times? Thank you. Sorry. Something for every season. If you could hit next. I've got a couple of pictures here that I pulled. Obviously, you know, particularly Sam's Christmas Village in the winter, that brings a lot of people into town. But we have lots of things in the fall, and the spring, and the summer for people to do here as well. I can't put all the pictures up there, but there's hunting and fishing and all kinds of stuff, right? All right, next please. So I would like to start off, sorry, this is what my brain does. I would like to start when researching about the municipal branding strategies and processes for this community branding proposal. If you could hit the next slide. I looked at various communities in Wisconsin and tried to look at their population sizes and scale it to where we sort of are now. It may not be exact, but this is where they're at in 2023. And then where we may be in 5 to 10 years, 10 to 15. And these were the 3 communities that their branding packages and projects that they had recently finished really stood out on their websites to me. And so I pulled ideas from them. We had some great conversations, and I felt like these were 3 that could help us not have to reinvent the wheel, but really do something similar to what they had done for our community. So Wapaka, Merrill, and Burlington. When also utilizing the strategies here, smart growth is a buzzword in our community, and it goes back to the Bridging Somerset initiative, which I'll talk about here in just a moment. But we love having a small community, sort of a heritage community that also welcomes new people, but prizes and values people who've been here for a long time that founded our community. And so we love that while we're growing, we want to make sure that we can continue to have that small town charm. We've heard that over and over again from people. In projects like these, though, best practices include community leaders and action-oriented volunteers that initiate and create the framework of the branding projects. And then with a common element of including and seeking out public input and seeking and to ensure that any community branding or marketing plan reflects the community across multiple audiences. So, and you beat me to it. So in 2017, 2 years after the Chamber of Commerce had been reorganized, we worked with the Village of Somerset Board, the Town Board, the School Board, the Chamber Board, the Community Foundation Board, and I can't remember, anybody's welcome, but it was the leaders of the community, the movers and the shakers, that we got into a room and started to strategically plan sort of a collaboration of a strategic plan for Somerset as a whole. As a transplant, I was flabbergasted when I got involved with the chamber and realized there's 2 governments for Somerset. And when I say I'm from Somerset, I don't specify I'm from the town or I'm from the village unless I have to. I say I'm from Somerset. And so I actually heard quite a bit, even from people who've been here, that they didn't realize that. I think many people do know now, but at the time it was new to me. So getting people together in that room, the group's purpose was to work together for smart growth, building Somerset as an outstanding community. Not that it wasn't already outstanding, but that there's always room for improvement, and we can always make it an even more outstanding community. Are you timing me? Okay, good. Well, he's supposed to tell me when it's 16 minutes because I have a tendency to drone on, and I'm hoping I can just get through everything. There's a lot of information here. If I need to stop, by the way, if I go on too long, just let me know. And
You do great.
okay.
Keep going.
All right, second step needed, the strategic planning process was to get the input from the community. The amazing Kim Dunley put together the Rivers and Roads group, and that group went around to, again, the boards, the village, town, school, but also to church groups, the senior citizens group, youth at the high school group, the student councils and things like that, civic groups, across all different types of residents and peoples that were here in Somerset in order to find out what their vision was and what their goals and their values were for our community then and also in the future. I think we said like 20 years down the road. And then after that, I believe, and Kim's not here, but I think it was 9 months. Kim, I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong, you can correct me. I think it was like 9 months where they went around and literally had small group focus groups, big focus groups, and they went physically into those areas to the people to get that input. We had over 500 community members that participated, which is quite a lot for a small community. Then I was involved with it a little bit. we took the data and the input and we collected it and analyzed it and condensed it. We put it in a one pager. And I'm gonna show you the results of those here in just a minute, the things that the community members told us they wanted more of and the things that we value. But first, after the Rivers and Roads came the Addie Advantage. Bob worked on that and worked with their group to work on a new logo. Was it also, Bob, was it also actually marketing? Because it did
It was a business model.
business
that we
model.
made, Basically.
Yeah,
So it was to draw businesses into the community.
okay, all right.
Not so much residential.
Okay, I'm not sure I was aware of that or understood that, thank you. Because really, like you said, it focused on a certain aspect of the community, but didn't really encompass others. But from there, that's where we have the new logo that we're using right now, right, on the sides. Okay, in my personal opinion, the board did not necessarily receive the quality of product that you paid for. However, it was a start. And so if you could go to the next slide, after the Addie Advantage, and I was in the middle of health issues, so I was not involved with this, but I believe the community action plan came out of what came out of those focus groups. And then from there, some of those goals and things, the Somerset Champions Council was created by the fantastic duo Kathy Ness and Kim Dunleap, and here we are today. So really quickly, we would invite, I gotta put a plug in for the champions. We'd love everybody and anybody who wants to be involved, who's willing to volunteer for projects and events and things like that to help improve the quality of life in Somerset. We'd love for you to come to our meetings. We have online meetings and in person, so. Brenda, you're usually online, so. Works.
Might be interesting to find out when they meet.
In other words, since 2017, and even 2 years since before that, there have been tons and tons and tons of community input. And I know throughout the last decade that transparency and community input and people wanting to have their voices heard has been very important. So we acknowledge and recognize tonight in this proposal that not everybody has had their voice heard throughout this process, but we wanted to just give a little bit of history so that you know this isn't just a whim. Like, we've been working on something like this for a very long time, and we did try to get as much input as we could. I would encourage you to speak or contact any of our wonderful board members if you have suggestions or ideas after we've done this proposal. I just lost this second half of my thought. My brain drops that like that. So moving on. Okay, if you would please next. So out of the Rivers and Roads one pager, after we compartmentalized or after we put all the information together, the community members told us they wanted more economic development, which, good job, Bob, and many others. We're seeing that. They wanted more family activities, which we've seen. They wanted improved educational opportunities, which the high school has done, or excuse me, the school district has worked really hard to provide, and revitalize downtown area. And then green spaces and parks and trails. And I believe there was at once, you and Kelly Emerson had already had kind of a village proposal for a village, an upgraded village park, but that kind of fell to the wayside. But I'm hearing that we're starting to work more on the parks and trails. At the same time, Larry Forest is a very beautiful park, and Village Park is great, and we have some really nice parks. So go to the website, there's a plug for you. Next, okay, our community members value compassion for self and others, support, lively and energetic community, peace and stability, and learning opportunities for self and others. And over the years, great improvements have been made for that. When designing a new, air quotes, logo, I wanted to take a look at all of, and when I say all, I say that loosely, I'm sure there's ones I've missed, but the main community civic groups and logos that are in our community. And then next I created a color chart. And from there I mixed and matched and played with colors and stuff until I got to the logo. I'm gonna share, the new proposed logo we're gonna share with you in a minute here. When we're talking about a comprehensive branding proposal, we need to take into account 5 principles, 5 elements, 1 brand: place, government, residents, businesses, and tourism. Tonight, we're focusing on the village part, but at some point, should you decide to move forward with our proposal, the township is going to need to be involved with some of these others because of okay, now my brain's like not catching up. Wayfinding signage and some other things. Next, please. Before I show you the new logo, I also want to talk about sometimes when you have various things like shirts and mailers and signs and whatnot, there are times when it's appropriate not to use the whole logo, and so you use an icon. I think we see that a lot in social media and some other things, can't think of right now, but the river is actually going to be in, the top icon is actually in the logo. The bottom icon is one for the 3 later principles or elements of the brand. If you notice, there's a silver part of the S, the water white kind of, okay, oh, I gotta speed up, I talk fast already, anyways. And then the blue part, so representative of town and village, connected by the river, and an S for Somerset. Okay, so new proposed logo. This is our new proposed logo. As you can see, it basically takes the current logo that Addy Advantage created, and it fills it in with some color, which I'm going to talk about here in just a minute, some elements, and gives it sort of a more professional look, in our opinion. This is the rectangle one. Oftentimes, thank you. Oftentimes there will be times for a square one. I'm going to move through this pretty fast. I'm going to read the next slide because this is important. First and foremost is the place. The place brand speaks to the widest audience because the place of Somerset is made up of all the other brand elements. Our proposed logo for the village of Somerset, Wisconsin showcases the community's name with an icon that reflects our core values. Somerset, the word stands out prominently while the other words provide context. The icon itself, featuring a nature and river motif, symbolizes what we cherish in our community: the river, the outdoors, our environment, the vitality of growth. The design is highlighted with a warm golden yellow orange glow, evoking the peaceful moments of dawn or dusk when the world is quiet before the day's hustle begins. We have heard that people are moving here to escape sort of the hustle and bustle and nonsense of the cities. And so this is evident in this, which we've tried to put that in here. These colors also represent the support, energy, and productivity. That's how we got to this point. Now, I believe former President Kappers had initiated, I could be wrong, it might have been multiple people, some kind of a project about putting a seal here in the village. And so we've taken the middle of the logo and put it into a seal. If you notice, there's 2 little apples, St. Croix County. I think I got the date wrong, but honestly, there's like different dates everywhere, and I don't even know what the real one is. So somebody, maybe like the history committee. Or if you want, like, next please, you can put 2 little hearts there or not even use the hearts and put a tagline that we're gonna propose here in just a minute. Next, as a subtle nod to our French Canadian heritage and all the seasons, Village du Somerset, Somerset, Wisconsin, you can see, if you want to use this, there's a, there, anyway, yeah. I don't have the words, sorry, next please. Yes, we got all the seasons, you know, it's the trees for some, yeah, okay. Bob, your public works department, by the way, is doing a great job. Like your social media is great. I see it all over the place. So I just use your department just to kind of show how you can incorporate the logo and tweak it to the various departments. Next, please. In the future, it could be as simple, this is just a suggestion, as we grow and need bigger, like specific departments, a color and the name of that, but the logo itself stays the same. Can be square or rectangle, however you want. I'm a highly visual person, so next please. I looked at your website, and if you look at what you have right now in the middle, you can see there's a little bit more prominence of the word Somerset, kind of sticks out a little bit better on what you have right now, which by the way, I like your new website, good job. And then you can see what it would be up in there. Next slide, social media. I use my Facebook and the village's YouTube. You can see where that prominent, just displays in your profile pic there. Next, please. All right, proposed tagline. This has been sort of a, since the Addie Advantage stuff came out, I wasn't originally, I don't think I was a member yet, but as I got involved, the tagline kind of kept coming up, that it wasn't really relevant to us, inviting just across the river. As if, like, we don't have our own river or something, I don't know, it just didn't jive, didn't connect. And so, I know, do I need to stop or I'm okay to keep going? All right, he's my timer, so let him know, okay.
Keep on.
Other reasons why it matters, okay, excuse me, so it should be concise and a memorable statement that communicates the village identity, values, and appeal. And you can read a lot of this, but it should attract visitors, build community pride, help with economic development. And we are a small community, so we're surrounded by a lot of larger communities. And the tagline should in some way help us stand out a little bit. Should tell a little bit of, hey, we might be little, but hear us roar, this is why. And then simplify the communication. Tagline should distill the essence of the community into a few words and should make it easier to communicate the village's charm, appeal quickly and efficiently. So next, no, not yet. I'm getting ahead of myself. It should also be all encompassing. And because you don't, like, we've had a lot of turnover on these branding things, what we're hoping for and what we're proposing here is that we finally create a cohesive, all-encompassing village and town at some point marketing and publicity plan, so that you're not changing it again. Like once we're done, we're done here for 20, 30, whatever years. That's what our hope is for you guys. Because we have had a lot of, well, I could be off, I'm throwing a number out there, but you know what I mean, right? Like you don't want to be spending money on this over and over again for a while. So it should embrace all the aspects of the community's branding needs, and you can read the rest. Our hope is that it will represent our past, our present, and our future. We believe, next 2 slides, that welcome home, bienvenue à la maison, should be our new tagline for our village. Some communities, next please, have sub-taglines. We went through a whole host of them. You don't necessarily need one, but it can also help you tell your story. We whittled it down to 5 because we figured it was probably way too much for you guys if we had like 50 on there that you could choose from. And obviously you can choose your own, but here's some we thought maybe worked well with the welcome home. Next, I included the French Canadian heritage taglines. My dad speaks French, so I believe those are right. You better have gotten them right. Okay, then
Double check that.
someone who speaks French fluently, because I do not, I speak German. Okay, so part of, so then next slide, going back to the 5 elements of the one brand, the residents, sometimes communities will have their own tagline. So for example, I know in the past we've had We Are Somerset, but in doing the welcome home, we wanted to maybe look at some that would be maybe a little bit more, we're trying to work on becoming more welcoming and I don't know, show a different part of Somerset that a lot of people don't get to see, because we really do have some really amazing and compassionate and generous people here. So here's some, next slide, please. Oops, back. So again, just some examples. I'm very visual. Next. The next one is businesses. I was intrigued by the fact that they had they used the icon and then had this sort of stamp or seal that in their community, their businesses, their companies, their nonprofits could use, put on their packaging to promote that their product or their employees or what they created or the beef that they raised came from Somerset. So this was on their municipal website, and the business owners or whatnot could pay a small fee to. Some of them had a fee and some of it was free. You just downloaded it and then but there were guidelines for how to use it and how not to, that if you were going to use it, if you had to follow. So, okay, tourism. This is a passion of mine. And when I was at the chamber, I tried to do it all and I couldn't, but I really have been passionate about tourism. I really feel like we have some amazing things here. We haven't told our story very well. We would propose that if we had a tourism tagline, so you kind of have like maybe Stillwater, the others have like their chamber, but then they have their information bureau or their tourism bureau, you know. the river, the community, the experience. Again, using the welcome home. Next slide. These are potential logos. Again, this is just what I designed. Maybe you guys want a different design. I'm not offended, but this is just something that could be. And then the next slide puts all of it together. So this is sort of your comprehensive brand. These are your elements. Next slide. I'm gonna go through this fairly quickly because these are basically just, the next few slides are audio, or excuse me, visuals. Another passion for the champions has been wanting to collaborate with the village and the town on wayfinding signage to make sure that we have really good directions and things like that. I tried to find sort of a Frenchy lamppost. We have some, I don't know if you've noticed, but the lampposts we have out here actually have a fleur-de-lis on it. So it was kind of close to that, but that's what I could do. Again, you have the green and the blue and the river in the middle representing both parts of Somerset Town Village coming together with the river. Next slide. Wayfinding signs. We have the new Woodstock Information Center. I loved the stone that the mason stonery that they used. So I flipped that over into the site identification sign. I would love to see something like that just right out here in front of Village Hall. Just something small, but just, I don't know, just playing around and I saw these things, Village Park, things like that. If you notice up on the left-hand side though, there's the middle of the logo. This is because, and I saw this in other communities as I was driving in the cities, like Maplewood goes into Oak Grove, goes into, and they just have the different leaves, but the signs all look the same. So you can tell when you're moving into the next community. And so this would be easy to do with the villages. And then if up above it goes into the town, you just switch the town logo there in the future. Same thing for the next slide. We did want to put a little bit of French Canadian down on Main Street. So we liked the idea of having one of these types of designs. I think we decided we really liked the left ones because they had the panels, which if you needed to switch them out, it would be cheaper to switch one panel than to have to replace the whole thing. And again, you can put the fleur-de-lis up there, or you can put the town or the village in there. You can see that. Next slide. These are for traffic and pedestrian signs. Apparently, when you go a certain mile per hour, your brain needs a certain size of sign to be able to read it without being distracting. Wow, that's probably more up your element, or
Your standards.
yeah. And then I'm gonna actually just, if you could go to the next slide, the next one. I'm just gonna leave it here. I know that you guys are working currently, or so I'm told, on a budget for repainting the water tower. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's been approved.
Okay. We might be too late, but we had talked about potentially including.
No design has been done yet. It's just been, we've approved the funding for it.
Right, so I think the idea was that 2 shirts per staff member or whatever, 50 shirts could be written into that budget so that when you paint the water tower, then you also can get your staff if you choose the new logo. But again, timing, I'll get to that here in just a minute. Skip the next 3, those are all visuals you can look at. Skip okay, so our recommendations. All right, so as I was going through this, I realized I needed to stop before I went any further, give you the proposal and let you decide if you wanted to move forward with this design or this project, or if you wanted to go a different way before I finished it to the end. So there are things that we can do and work together to finish a complete branding and marketing proposal. And I would create and provide the guide that you would then have for your policy books and on your websites and for you guys' information. But I have not finished that yet because again, I wanted to wait until you guys saw this. But one of the most important things I did talk to President Stickard about was, please the next slide. This is just a sample municipal task list. When you're doing a transition between branding and marketing plans, there's a lot of different tasks that have to occur. And so we recommend that you maybe look at this one, pull out things that are not relevant, add things that maybe your committees go, hey, that's not on there, we need that on there, and then assign a phase to it. And then assign the time frame of that phase. So for us, phase 1, like the logo, you can switch that out on your website probably in like 5 minutes, right? You just send it to whoever. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but give me your login info, I'll do it for you. things like envelopes and those kinds of things, you can switch those out pretty quickly in phase 1 or 2. You can create however many phases you want. This is our recommendation that you do something like this.
When do they put sort of included?
I'm sorry. Oh, so that you know, just so that it's in order. And then Kathy Ness actually has over 20 years of experience with budgets and stuff. I know you have your budget committee, but she said that, and she and I kind of work together on this. If you would like her to help you with these things, she's happy. I'm not a budget person. I could not tell you how much it costs to paint your trucks or whatever, that kind of thing. Mine is the creative aspect, so, but she's happy to do that for you. I don't know how long that was, but next slide. Thank you. Merci.
Thank you very much.
We don't have it on for discussion. I wanted to just let it sink in this month and.
And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Or I can come back whenever you want.
And we'll take it from here for further discussion. I just wanted to really kind of, I didn't want to have a discussion tonight because I think it just needs some time to sink
It's a
in.
lot of info.
So. Okay, thank you very much again.
You're welcome.
Next item is consent agenda. Is there any items that wish to be pulled off?
I just have a question.
Yes.
On the, we're gonna see which one it is here for the mill and overlay, microservicing project. They had, just curious, overlay on Jermaine and Parnell, not, taking that back down. Are they just doing an overlay on that?
Yeah, because we don't have any, it's a rural segment, so we don't have to be concerned with curb elevations. And the recommendation from your street engineer was just to go over the top of that.
Is that gonna
And
hold
not,
up?
better than taking it off,
Cause there's no base there.
right, and it's buying us 10 years versus doing a complete overhaul of that, but it's in such poor shape now that.
So the concern would be because there's no proper road base there, that we're using that stability of what's there to build on.
It's not ideal, but yeah, we're buying 10 years in lieu of just,
So we're just,
your other option is basically a complete reconstruct.
well, yeah, tear it down and put the proper base in and redo it, right?
And with low traffic volume, I mean, that road was put in 1978, and it really hasn't had a whole lot of work done to it. When it is a light load and light traffic on it, so if there's heavy traffic on it, we would never even consider it because it get just destroyed.
And then the other question on Shackner and Raymond. Raymond, there wasn't much there. When you're doing a complete mill down on that, are you gonna have enough base there? Cause there wasn't much to mill out there.
Yeah, they'll reclaim the base there.
They will?
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions? Is there a motion to entertain for the consent agenda?
Caleb Garn make a motion to accept the consent agenda and approve it.
Frank, second. Motion by Garn, second by Kern to approve the consent agenda as presented. All those in favor say aye. Opposed say no. Motion carried unanimously. New business. Discussion possible approval appointment of Aaron Sundin to the Economic Development Committee. Bill Derrick, who I appointed last month, reached out to me and has decided he is wanting his employee, Aaron Sundin from Derrick Construction, to take his place on the committee. So I'm appointing Aaron Sundin to the Economic and Development Committee, replacing Bill Derrick. Entertain a motion in a second, so on that. Second by Kern, motion by Kern, second by Garn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Also no, motion carries. Discussion possible approval of 2025-7 temporary traffic control for the Somerset Amphitheater events. In your packet, I have the memo from the chief. Though Joel is online. Well, you want to just do a brief intro? You can.
Sure. Yeah, thanks, guys. Becca, nice job on the presentation, if she's still there. But, so yeah, essentially, I'm just kind of looking for formal authority, to kind of do what we've been doing in the past. Ultimately, we're trying to manage, 10,000 plus sometimes people in a community designed for 3,000. So we're trying to work with the venue, to come up with the best plan possible. This year, they kind of want to change things up a little bit, and they're changing their entrance to the north. So everyone that's coming in, whether you're an employee or coming from Minnesota or from New Richmond, are all gonna be directed north. And, the more I looked at our little intersection of Main Street at Spring Street over by Circle K there, um, I don't think it can necessarily handle, that kind of traffic volume. So I was looking around at getting creative for ingress. I think we'll probably have like a 1 hour period, after 4 p.m., probably closer to 5 or 6, which doesn't help our, regular rush hour, where we would direct traffic down, River Street from the east and down Francis Street from the west. I'm planning on putting out some type of, Facebook post tomorrow, if this is approved, to kind of go over some of the changes. But, this essentially would give us the authority needed to, kind of do some of the things that we're looking at, which include like making Spring Street into a one-way from the intersection of Francis Street to Parnell Street. It's a 1 block period. We'd use a zipper merge technique, to get people merged, before Parnell. But again, if the numbers are small and traffic is flowing freely, we're not planning on messing with traffic. We might be able to control the lights, but, between just the small infrastructure dealing with regular commuting traffic and pedestrian traffic, we want to have a plan and authority in place to help guide traffic if we need to.
So, yeah, when the chief presented this to me via email, I thought I was total support of it and then reading through it. And my own research, it's just really in our ordinances, there was a gap in the authority to allow what has been allowed for all these many years to the chief of police to figure out what is the best for public safety on his professional opinion. And this is just giving that legal authority to our chief as the chiefs have done over the years. It's not really changing in how we operate. It may change routes in the future, but that's not really what this is. This is about giving the actual legal authority to operate what the chief has been doing and will continue to do in the future. So,
If I could add to that, Ryan,
yeah,
I would argue that we do have statutory powers under 346-41, which is essentially the statute governing like traffic control officers. But,
you're right. I know you're going, I forgot to, yeah,
Yep.
go ahead.
But, I think it's cleaner and more formal, if we do kind of a combination of both this, authorization through a resolution where I'm acting as an agent of the village, opposed to relying on, more or less emergency police powers. So I think in a combination, it's, much better suited.
Yeah, thank you for clarifying that. I guess I was simplifying the fact that, you're utilizing statutes, but, this is, clarifying that point, so.
Mhm.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2025-07, authorizing the chief of police to implement temporary traffic control measures for large scale events.
Motion by Dubek, second by Kern. Any further questions?
Just one question and concern on this, that I know in the
I went down.
original
What you need?
statement you put on police letterhead, now that's stating for this year. are we looking to continue that process if it works for future events, or will this resolution need to be renewed on an annual basis?
So I think the resolution is broad enough to allow for changes. And the cover letter on the police letterhead was more or less our intentions for this first show. I know that we're going to put it on the public safety agenda to review how it went. I know that we also highlighted some of our concerns at the public safety committee meeting about this whole funneling everyone through town. So it's very much so a work in progress. And to answer your question, I think it's broad enough where it's something I'm willing to rework annually if we want to look at it on an annual basis, or whatever you guys, however you want to proceed, I'm willing to work with you.
The resolution clearly states under 3, the 4th bullet point under 3, that it gives you the right to make changes as you see fit. Which I think, you know, like you said, is covered under Wisconsin statute as well, but I just didn't know if we wanted to look at this on an annual basis, because we're,
Definitely would hurt, right?
yeah.
We could have a review before next year's concert season.
I just don't want to, originally, we were trying to get as much of that traffic to utilize coming into town, the accesses that are provided for them. And now they're coming all the way through town and running up, you know, to the north side of town, which is going to, you know, inconvenience several homeowners on Spring Street by not being able to access their property. So I just don't want you to, I don't want people to think, or the concert grounds even to think that this is this resolution is a be all to end all, and that they can continue to do what they do. Hopefully we could try to advocate for them to utilize the accesses on the outside of town and not flood the traffic, the town, and congest everything up with all the traffic. That's all I have.
Thank you. Any other comments?
There you are.
I would just add that, you know, it is a work in progress, and it is a challenge, and every year we try something new, and we haven't really found the perfect sweet spot yet. And arguably, you know, what we've done in years past has been marginally successful, but we don't, public safety and minimizing inconvenience for residents is certainly one of our top priorities. And, you know, having people backed up on the freeway, like we did last year, is certainly a public safety concern. And we're trying to work with everybody, including local businesses, to come up with a reasonable solution. So to your point, Donnie, I hear what you're saying. And, you know, we'll take a good look at what happened or what happens at the next public safety, and we can adjust accordingly.
Thank you, sir.
Well, no, the resolution does not have an expiration date on it per se. Any other questions? As we have a motion and a second to approve resolution 25-07. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion passes unanimously.
We look at adopting an amendment to that to add an annual review of this resolution.
If you want, we can just make sure that happens.
Under as an amendment, we put this annual, would be reviewed annually.
I believe it is when we renew the ICP, the traffic plan
This
is renewed.
resolution, this resolution.
Which is
Not
now
this
moved to, what is it, November?
We'll get smoothed up. It's 30 days, 60 days.
Right.
Yeah.
It's October, November is the new ICUP.
Start of the regular.
Yep.
Noted, otherwise we can put it in the resolution too. Reviewed annually with the ICP.
We'll just make sure in minutes that we will review this 1 year from now.
Fair enough.
And I will make sure it's put on my calendar and just we'll put it on her calendar, make sure that we have it for next year's June meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
But I'm just doing that to, rather than draw the resolution. So, next we have is the 25 06. I know it's an earlier number, and that is correct. For the CMR, the compliance, maintenance, and report for the wastewater treatment facility. This time I turn it over to Bob or.
Sure. So the CMAR is a compliance maintenance annual report that's done every year. It's essentially a report card that the village's wastewater collection and treatment plant get graded on every year. Committee meeting, I did stress the importance of how well Jim Fanning is doing operating that wastewater treatment plant and the collection system along with our lift stations. I think this is probably year 10. He's scored straight A's on everything. And I don't know if the full CMAR and the sections that are graded are included in your packet or not.
Yeah, they're in.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you can go through and review those items, but again, he does a fantastic job. He's doing a nice job of mentoring other communities actually now, his role. So other communities reach out to him for problem solving, troubleshooting, and how to do analytical testing.
I remember when we were in this situation 20-some years ago, reaching out to other communities for help, and that helped us get us to where we are.
So he's transitioned to a very good leadership role as well, so.
I'd like to make a motion to approve resolution 2025-06, compliance maintenance resolution being resolved in form of Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources. The following actions were taken. We reviewed the compliance AR report, which is attached to this resolution. Thanks for all the hard work that Jim has done. He's got great A's on everything.
Way to go, Jim.
Good job, Jim. Appreciate you. Yes. Motion by Kern, second by Flirt to approve resolution 2005-06 as was just previously read. Any other comments? Again, fabulous job. I mean, I remember some years when we were not scoring 4.0s and it was legitimate. And, actions have been taken to both in process and in improvements of the facility in the tunes of millions of dollars over the last decades. So this doesn't I'm not trying to take away from Jim's hard work, but this is also a reflection of the village board's hard work of allocating money to projects, to the wastewater treatment program, which is a hard task to spend and increase people's water and sewer bills. So that's also a reflection of showing that your hard paid water and sewer bills are being used, those monies are being used effectively to run an efficient plant. So I just want to make that comment so people appreciate a little bit where their hard-earned money goes. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carried unanimously. Next item we have is discussion approval of Capstone line of credit reduction number 1. I think this is in that section now. The first one is a reduction to be reduced to over $626,000. Chuck, do you want to give your memo over on this?
Yeah, I don't have a copy.
Okay.
Basically, we reviewed their request for reductions and we recommended approval down to the engineer's estimate of 200.
Represent full addition up there does that have anything to do with the issues that we were talking about discussing, if there was any reworking the stuff from Vanessa's property?
So, well, the letter of credit reduction for number 1 is for the first edition, which is the second phase. Okay, so that's the stuff to the north and east there. Okay,
So
And so
that's
the
being
the
reduced.
amount of security there, it's 120% of the remaining work. Just to cover that remaining work and as well as other incidentals.
To the north and east.
Yes.
Which is phase two. The
That's
second
the
phase.
first edition. You got the original project and then you have the first edition. So that's what's in front of you. This agenda.
This is
item.
the first edition.
First edition, correct.
You were, I think your point was to the original project in money.
Yeah, I just was making sure that this
Yeah.
wasn't that. As we were.
Because that property is adjacent to the original project is what.
Caleb Garn make a motion to approve the Capstone line of credit reduction number 1 in the amount of $626,000.
Brad Crone, like. Motion by Garn, second by Crone. Any other questions or comments? Any other questions or comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carried unanimously. Next item is Capstone line of credit reduction number 2.
And so what we're recommending for this one, so now this is the original project. there. Got it. To kind of answer your question and, we're recommending it go down to that $201,000 level in security. I believe, the developer was looking for something a little bit lower than that, but we kept it up higher because of the road repairs and some of the other work associated with remaining improvements. So,
What did they want it to be dropped to?
what was it? Not much more. Like 177,000.
But you did keep on just a little bit more.
Yeah, just want to make sure we have enough adequate security there for the, some of the road repairs prior to paving. and-
Right, so how much are we looking at? They were asking for, are you saying 70,000 less than?
No, just like $30,000.
$30,000 less.
And we're just going with the recommendation of their consultant, Carlson Engineering.
But there's
And we
nothing,
reviewed it.
there's nothing in here that takes into fact any kind of issues of potential water or drainage issues on that. But
There's nothing there. But you have the remaining work plus,
how much are they asking to reduce this line of credit from?
I'd have to guess, but
I believe it was, we reduced it. Yeah, we reduced it
So
once
1,400,000
before.
to 201,000.
We reduced it once before down to, I thought it was like more like $40,000.
Okay, so we say for best case, we drop it to 400, from 400,000 to 200,000.
Yeah.
There's not, and there's an issue with any kind of drainage next year, which we already said we're gonna monitor this thing. Should we have some money set in there to?
There's sufficient funds to cover that. Within this $200,000.
And if there isn't,
Chuck.
I mean, that's
I
what.
was hoping. you were gonna say that.
Yeah.
I was trying to get him on the
I
line.
got it.
Nice try.
I was working.
Nice try.
Thanks for the lead in.
$5,000 back.
Chuck, what's your revolving credit? We'd like to have access to it.
Yeah. Then you gotta have a talking to you.
Well, the reason I'm saying this is because I'm looking through everything on these note marks here, and that's all just to handle the grading and everything else. I don't see anything in here to handle what you're saying is sufficient. It's all the bituminous, the manhole covers,
Well,
temporary cul-de-sac of 19 grand, so I think.
Well,
I would
one
like
of the
to see-
challenges, Donnie, is that we can no longer hold security for grading. When Governor Walker was around, we used to hold security associated with not only improvements within the right of way, but also the grading outside the right of way. They said you can no longer do that security. It's gotta be, your security's gotta be based on the public improvements within the right of way.
So then how do we maintain that there's a,
Well, you still have.
how do we tell that landowner, like you said, that there's gonna be, cause we put it on a punch list. It was set on the punch list, so if we put it on a punch list and we can't hold security for it, then is the village gonna be responsible for that amount?
Well, you won't reduce security less than 10% of the original security, so you'll always have that amount. Per the development agreement, and then also, you know, if there's outstanding items, you don't have to accept the improvements.
So 10% of the original project was 3.1 million, right? So that'd be 300,000.
Do I have that wrong? Then I'd have to double check that. But you have security for 10% of the public improvements, not the original grading and everything else. You have a little bit different situation here.
I'm sorry, it's 3.29 million, so it'd be 300,000 if we went at 10%.
But it's only on the public improvements, not the,
So how do you carve that out?
not the
That's
grading
the
or.
sewer, the water, the streets. Not the overall, not the entire overall grading.
I would like to see a little more in there, just to be on the safe side.
To clarify that. We also still retain the power to approve or deny any future reductions, correct?
Right.
Yep. And accepting the improvements, you haven't accepted the.
And we haven't accepted them.
So can we table this until we've accepted their improvements?
Oh, this does follow our developers agreement with them, which is fine.
So our developers agreement is giving us what amount that we, you know, 'cause,
Yes.
as far as current improvements, I'm trying to get them numbers together.
So as they hit those benchmarks and it's at satisfaction and then vetted by MSA and Carlson McCain, Carlson Engineering. Those two collaborate together, go through what remaining work is, come up with that number. And like we said, we held more, retain more than they
I
wanted.
mean, don't,
They were fine with that.
okay, so don't get me wrong, I haven't heard any complaints from Mr. Vanas. And we had some significant rate events here over the last couple months too. And we've been, I told him, call me if you got issues and I'll come out and take a look at them, but I'm still monitoring that. And I just want to make sure that we're able to cross that off the list in 2026.
Me too.
But
And then, and John, I was just looking it up, and the amount of grading is $1 million, so that. And then there's some,
So that's how you ended up at the 10% of 2 million.
and I might be getting my,
There I am again.
well, yeah, I mean, 220 million or 220,000 because it was 3.2.
but there's other items in there not associated, you know,
Where is that camera?
stuff like that's the challenge is. And I could be mistaken about that 10%, I'd have to double check.
How much more would you want in there, Donnie? Better. About 50 grand?
And you know, we do have the other project.
And we can retain from the 600,000 for,
How about this, if it's acceptable to the board here is. 201,000 or 10%, whichever is higher, and I'll confirm the number and provide you proper documentation.
That's the legal aspect that we can hold, we can retain on it. I think I'd have to stand by that number.
Yep. And I just,
but you're also saying,
I want to confirm it.
we also have influence on the first edition reductions.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah, and there's another phase coming in here, so if we still have, items that need to be satisfied, that's where another.
Are we able
If
to?
this was a closeout, I'd be going the route that you are, but we have, if you're mentioning there's another whole phase yet.
So there's a couple.
We're able to attach onto them to fix the,
We can do it just like we do in White Side, but so you're not moving forward with anything until you make these corrections.
right,
Yeah.
right.
And
We had retainage on that first edition of Wine Sap though. That's why I'm asking.
Just
can
like
you-
we do.
Can you take from, I don't know this, but can you take from this one to fix this one? Or you say you gotta fix this one before you can move forward?
Yeah.
But even though we don't have any retainage for that, that's gonna be on them and not on us, right?
That's going to be economically devastating to them. Okay.
Yeah, it's not gonna allow them to move forward, and there won't be any future reductions if they don't comply with our requests.
And meanwhile,
I think everyone understand that, we're taking the opinion, approving this tonight, that we want, you know, those stormwater things done, that there'll be no more future approvals and no more future reductions unless those things are done. That kind of the consensus that we're,
Well, that's, I don't wanna have any issues with the,
no, I
Sure, it's taken care
we haven't taken over that. When are we gonna accept that? No, the roads and, we haven't taken that over yet. Are they they're not at final?
no, they continue to do work out there. They're replacing, you know, they replaced, I believe, all the curb and gutter, you know, they're gonna, when they get phase, the first edition ready for the first lift of pavement, that's when they're gonna cut out and patch
Right,
the original one.
then they're gonna drive all the way through that to go all the way to the back and beat that.
Well,
all
and then
up.
they're gonna do the
After
overlay.
we take it over, right?
No,
Oh, okay.
but, so there will be, you know, so they're still moving forward. They still got pavement to do. There's plenty of work and they continue to move forward. And as things get checked off the list, you'll still have the $200,000 in hand to fix anything that needs to be fixed.
Who's got the motion?
The motion should be 10% or 201,000, whichever is greater.
Yeah, whichever's greater, correct.
So moved.
And I'll verify that.
motion, as I understand it, is 201,000 or 10%, whichever is graded. Greater is the reduction of line of credit for the original Pine Val developer. All those in favor say aye.
I,
We'll say no. Motion carried unanimously. Next item is sale of vacant land owned by the village. Multiple parcels.
Yeah, it's former Well House, former General Sam's, former lot on Main Street. And I'm seeking I'm seeking approval for, having one of our local realtors, Dave Brock, list that, just get it on MLS.
So to clarify, we're not selling it tonight. We're seeking approval to sell those lots.
To list.
To list.
of. It wasn't already listed there yet?
No, they have
Well,
not.
it-
No.
It was pulled, so,
Okay.
mainly because of the intersection,
Oh,
Work.
oh, that worked.
that takes away from the
Yes,
calculated land, so.
okay,
We did have somebody interested in that pulled back.
because they lost that little bit of land right there.
No, no, it was a non-conforming use in their downtown.
Oh, okay.
So, the other piece is what the village board would like to sell that for. Commercial typically is sold in square foot increments. I feel the going rate right now would be about $5 a square foot,
How many square foot we have?
30,000,
How much?
approximately 30,000,
You're looking at 150,000 for that?
149.9, 150, somewhere in there. If you wanna come up. That's at the board's discretion.
Does that meet our, TID requirement?
How,
Yeah,
pardon?
we did.
Does that meet our TID requirement? Is that in, that's a TID.
That isn't a tip, right,
I wasn't involved.
there isn't a requirement per se, we need additional increment to come out of that. So,
Well, if somebody could turn it and develop on it, I mean, I think the bigger thing was, we were trying to see what kind of development we could get there in order to meet our TID requirements. So really, if somebody's gonna come in and say, hey, I'm gonna put up a $3 million thing, but I want it for free, I think we'd have to consider them offers, you know, so if you were to put it up there today and say, you know, we'll try to get the best price possible. I mean, it's riverfront land, it's, you know, whatever, you know,
It's not, someone owns
it's
it.
close.
Close, it's close.
Riverview adjacent.
Yeah, right.
You can walk to it, maybe.
Riverview
Develop,
adjacent.
you're not gonna walk on the river.
You can see it, but you won't pay the tax.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't know if you really wanna look at the side, but.
I'm not,
I guess from my perspective, the village should be motivated to sell that.
Yeah, we need to get
Especially
something
if
on
we're
there.
going to do a pay-go. The developer may want that price to be higher. That has happened in the past.
how's Little Twigs going? Do you wanna buy land again?
Pardon?
Does Little, does
Wanna do a
Little
landmark project?
wanna do another building in town?
Yeah, he actually thought about it.
Did he?
What?
Oh, that is
So,
awesome.
maybe I just wanna stick and see how this one goes first, so.
Okay.
I asked him the same question, and the answer was not no.
Oh, okay. Then that was not a bad question. You did a great job on the
Lowell's not
curve.
far away from 90, so.
Okay.
um,
Yeah, he's,
I think he's balancing some things right now, so.
Obviously, it isn't as much as we paid for it, but you know, getting something on there, get the taxes on it and getting it developed is ultimately a win for the village, so.
Well, it's certainly better than leaving it as village-owned land and not collecting anything and not reimbursing. So yes, at least sooner we start the MLS process, at least we start down that road. But, get it listed. Do we have to define the rate or do we let the, just, do we have to define what we our asking price is tonight or?
As soon as you do that, so.
Okay, no, I'm just asking, I just wanted to know that that's what the ask is, so.
Is that what Dave recommended?
Yeah, he jumped around with some comparables and said,
Maybe Jake could come in and tell us what he thinks it might be before we put it up,
you don't believe me?
I would kind of leave it up to him because I'm gonna be honest with you, prices are all over the map. For us to just put something down, I mean, they're selling acreage for 4,500 an acre in certain areas and some areas are selling for 10,000 an acre. So it all depends on what the person, it's all, what do you call it? Location, right? So
Well, I guess,
if Dave's got some comparables that he wants to put out, I'd be willing to move that Dave, we solicit Dave for a realtor on the thing and have him look at comparables and make a recommendation to us of what we want to sell for.
so maybe Dave creates the package with some comparables and sends it to all of us,
Right.
and then we can approve it then.
And it is hard to find comparables.
It really is, I know.
is there anything so I just don't wanna hold up anything. I'd like to get it on the market as quick as possible, so.
I know
we
that
approve a
that
number
little
and then
piece
go back
down
for
here on
comparables?
that little island, down on the end of the Village Park, they wanted, was it 300,000, 175,000 just for that little piece?
Well, they were training.
And you know what I mean?
Well,
So-
they knew who the buyer was.
But that's my point, is that,
The-
fair market value is 30
apartments,
bucks, or 30,000.
Apartment guys,
they're
yeah,
75,000.
75,000,
Right.
yeah.
I'll move it, we bring, Dave Brock to the, we.
We'll have Dave submit us a report.
Engage David Brock, I mean, obviously, he's probably gonna wanna have some kind of a contract or something to move forward with. Right, so I'll move that we, engage Dave Brock as our realtor on that, and bring up, any kind of comparable proposals back to the board for asking price,
Yeah, so
to get the process moving.
that's a motion or that's direct, okay.
Okay.
Motion is to work with Dave Brock to grant contract and proposal back for further consideration. Any other discussion? Motion by Kern, second by Marino. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Next item we have is just for your awareness, we finance and personnel considered looking at options for doing a reassessment of the village. We are now below the 70% threshold. We've been in the 60% for, I believe, Andrew said 2 years now. So next year we'll be going into 3. Our assessor contract is up. We will be recommending in the budget process that we continue with them, but that we do a reassessment in the year 2027. So you see what those numbers there are as when they're what they would be as just general as what we paid annually for maintenance, as we did like this year and last year. And then what the year would be, 2027 would be, you have to understand that would be maintenance. We'd use maintenance dollars plus what's set aside. We have 40,000 set aside already in capital projects for reassessment, according to Andrea. Or divided up
Could
over.
you say that again, right?
We had 40, Andrea told us at finance that we had 40,000 set aside in capital projects for the reassessment.
Currently.
For capital projects?
Yep, and capital
For this
projects
Specific purpose.
for the reassessment. And apparently we've been contributing little bits here and there over the years since the last reassessment. Yeah, that was what was reported to us at the committee last, just previous to this. Or looking at dividing it over a 3-year period. We are not requesting the board action tonight. We are really, seeking the formal contract and the budget process, but we wanted to just make the full board aware tonight. So no action needed on that. Any questions, please let me know.
Are you guys leaning towards smoothing it out over 3 years?
No, we're looking at actually, rather than affecting the budget spike, because that will
We're looking
affect
at-
our budget.
Juicing 40K up to that, so that the other years are flat.
Smooth it out, yeah.
So the general levy doesn't take a hit that year, because it would essentially that year. We'd be under with the revenue caps. We'd be taking away funds from other areas.
Sure.
So,
That's
it would be a detriment to other programs if we did that. That was why I leaned forward, knowing that when we had that amount set aside to not do the divided over 3 years.
So it'd only be like 24,000 in that second year then, right?
Yeah, which is, 7,000 more than what we would be paying over maintenance, so. So if we set aside 3,500 this year and 3,500 2027, we're in that ballpark, so. The next item, again, we tabled for our demonstration of the software, so no action there. Moving on to unfinished business. We have back now, I believe, the lease agreement with AT&T, is that correct, Bob?
Get a better deal? Well, that's what the board needs to discuss, because it wasn't clear what the board, what was discussed was why would we take anything less than 25,000, since they're paying $25,415.83 now. Their proposal was $20,000 with a 10% increase in 2026, so it'd be 22,000 next year. So what I need to respond back with AT&T is what the board would like the rent set at.
I know the other part of it that was expressed by the attorney, he's not here right now, is about how much access they carry to our property. I mean, they pretty much, they can come in at any time, do anything, and
Yeah,
and I seen there was some language in there. Has this been vetted to
Yeah,
Paul?
yeah, so what's in your packet is
That's back and forth from Paul in it?
Paul's comments.
Yeah, the blue is Paul's comments.
Oh. Okay.
So I is addressed
So
on page
Paul-
3. The second paragraph, areas of access.
So Paul's given his comments in blue, and you're just looking for the number on, from us.
Yeah.
So we said 25, they came back to 22.
No,
No,
we didn't define a number. It was, the motion was for Paul to review the language and to come back with comments that address site security and some of the other elements that Donnie was talking about. So he's achieved that.
But I thought the other part of the motion was that we weren't going to go any less than what we were at before.
That is correct.
And so they were at for what for lease? I mean, our previous lease was how much?
25,000.
Right, and they're at what now?
20.
So I thought our previous motion was all needed to review the numbers and we were not going to be less than what our previous lease was.
Right. So does that mean you want the price to say the same with the 10%? I just didn't want to give AT&T because I did go back and read the minutes and I went back and watched the video and it was debatable on what the board wanted to do. So was it the 25,000 and change plus that 10% next year? Or is it?
I thought it was 25,000 was our floor. I mean, that was, we weren't gonna take anything less than what we took in the last, what was it, a 3-year term? In the latest,
No, I think that was a 10-year term.
was it 10? So it was 25,000 over 10?
I believe so.
And now they were looking for a longer term, right?
It's like 30 years. But that's addressed in here. 2025.
So it's 25,000 over 10. And so if they want 30, then it'd be 75,000, right? Over 30. It'd be the same, right?
So currently it's $25,415.83.
What'd you say?
25,
413.
415
Thank you.
and 83 cents. And their proposal was $20,000 annually with a 10% increase in rent commencing in 2026. So
But over the term of the lease, would that be equivalent to or less than what the current 10-year lease was?
less,
Less?
it's less. We're gonna start out lower, to $5,000 lower. Next year will be $3,000 lower. And then,
That's it.
And so secondly, it's not at 10% every year, it's just the one-time 10%, correct?
I don't think so. I think there was-
the agreement is amended to provide that commencing on December 2026, the annual rent will escalate by 10% for the first extension term. Thereafter, the annual rent shall increase by 10% at the beginning of each extension term as applicable.
So they're also trying to lock us up for the future renewals.
I thought it said that to this subject.
I'm out of my depth on this, Bob, do you know what's typical? Do you have a recommendation?
Well, they like to secure their sites as long as possible, which makes a lot of sense. And so they're not looking for additional property owners to rent from.
So I take it we take the $5,000 hit because we have to put the equipment up there or what?
No, what they claim is they do market studies and they evaluate each site independently on their value, so this tower we have or the antennas here might not be as important to them as somewhere closer to an urban city. I'm not sure what the market.
Well, I mean,
it does.
if tower was in Bloomington by the Mall of America, it's gonna generate a lot more revenue for them than a tower in Somerset. I mean, I'm just.
Of course.
I don't know
brutally
about
honest.
that, with that highway right up there.
No, but
Right
No,
there, that's
just
right.
I'm sorry, next to the airport in the Mall of America versus our highway, the numbers
I don't
don't
know.
compute.
I've seen a lot
But
of. graphics.
But the reality is, nothing's going down.
No.
And we shouldn't be just saying it's taxpayers, property. And the previous guys were able to get a lease secured for 25,000 over 10. Why would we go in and say, well, we'll give it to you for less? It should, unless they can prove to us that, hey, if they don't like it, then remove it.
Was it
I
a
mean,
10-year lease, the first one?
Huh?
Was the first one a 10-year lease?
it was a 10-year lease for $25,000.
Okay.
And I'm saying, well, if they wanna do a 30-year, it should be 75 grand, the same baseline, cause nothing's going down. Our gas prices ain't going down, our taxes didn't go down, we shouldn't be going in and saying, yeah, but we're gonna give it to you for less.
I know, the original lease was with Singular, which doesn't even exist anymore, but.
Yeah, so the original one was in 2001, and then there has been several
Updates.
Yeah.
amendments.
I mean, there's been a lot of, cell phone technology improvements in the last 24 years.
Oh, yeah.
So
So
they
you
last,
wanna see it at 25 and then 10% after that?
Well, I'm just saying, baseline should be where we're started right now. It should be no different than,
Yeah.
you know, and whatever, if he can negotiate something, but it's 25,000 over 10 years, I can't see us accepting anything less than that. That's just my opinion.
I agree. I feel like we should give them the same deal, 25 for 10.
so the extensions go up 10% every 5 years is what the contracts say, so those are the extensions. Our last one was, 2021 to 26, so this one expires, the one we're talking about. That's,
26,
so.
so it'd go up 10%.
Well, now we're redoing the terms because the last term went to 2026.
So they wanna come in and say, well, let's drop the price so we can go up 10%. I wish people could rent, do that with their rent, when they come in and say, hey, I wanna drop my rent prices by 10%.
Rent does need a reevaluation for people, but.
I don't believe we should be going anything less than what we.
I agree.
I think 25K is good.
I have to agree with Tony on that.
So current amount is that 25,415.83 is where you want this to land. That's what I should
I
respond.
mean, no less than,
In 10
no
years,
less than existing amount.
right? That was a 10-year deal, right? That was a 10-year lease. Now, if they want to do a 30-year lease, it would be the same terms for times 3, right?
Every 5 years would be a new extension. So they come
Yeah,
back and
plus
say,
10%.
we want it to be $18,000 instead of.
I think you said it every 5 years, it goes up 10%, right? Okay, so.
Well, that's what they're proposing now. They can come back and say 25,000.
No, I think you said that in the previous ones, you had a 10% increase every 5 years prior to that, right?
So
As a
this-
renewal?
This last one went just from 2021 to 2026.
Right, and that was a 5% or 10.
I don't know, it's not in this. I'd have to go back and look at all the amendments to, this is the 6th amendment, so.
Sure.
We'll just keep her at, can't we just keep it at 25 for flat, and we don't gotta do any of this raising it or anything? And that would be less work for everyone, and we still get the same amount of money we're gonna get.
So then, I understand the
Keep
25,
it flat, let's do it at 30.
the 25. Now the next question is, do you want a 10% increase in 2026?
Yes,
I'd say so, yeah. Everything else is gonna go.
we should make them for that right now, but
So then it would follow the rest of the, okay, that's fine.
Okay, does that need you
And
need
we're
a
only,
motion?
we're only talking
You want a
about a
motion or do
total of a
just
10-year
direction?
contract. Our
Don't
total of a 10-year contract.
Don't exceed 10.
We're not
years.
talking 30.
You don't wanna go 30, just 10.
Well, that's a change. You were the one that didn't care about the 430.
Came around.
You were the one that didn't care. I asked you, I said, you sure you wanna go 30 years? You said, I really don't
Right.
care.
Change. I think the direction has been set, and we'll work towards getting that renewed. Okay. So my last item is 8B, President Pro Tem. Is there anyone looking to make a motion?
Make a motion to appoint Caleb Garn as pro tem.
For a second?
I'll say,
Motion by Crone, second by Marino to appoint Caleb Zarn as President Pro Tem. Yep, discussion.
You want it? Sure. I didn't think you'd want it. You didn't want to step into that, so. Elected this stuff and just appointed on that, I thought maybe.
You can appoint a new one every year if we have to.
Is,
So it's annually appointed, yes.
can I add just a clarifying?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
The President Pro Tem, I think there's some confusion on, President Pro Tem is simply if the absence of the president, we have somebody to run the meeting, simply it. There's really nothing else.
But absent of a president pro tem, then the people. that
Every
are
time you have to
in
elect, have to elect every single meeting.
Well, yeah, exactly.
So they would, it would just mean whoever is appointed to that.
It's just pre-established, you would fill in if I could
Would
make.
fill the chair's spot. but it does not provide signing opportunities or anything else like that.
Well, unless it's a long-term absence.
You know, then that's a discussion of the board. has.
Yes.
I just wanted
Yeah, it also would be if, let's say, I took a form, asked the board, I want to take 30 days leave of absence for what.
We can do that.
I don't know if that, I'm coming up with a scenario that I don't even know if this is
Please
possible.
say unpaid.
Yeah, well, yeah, whatever,
Theory.
but that would be the scenario where, the person would automatically fill in as well. But other than those two scenarios, or a direct official legal finding by the attorney that there's a conflict of interest. Those are the only scenarios that apply. It gives the position no other authority than that, so.
Caleb's here all the time. He ain't going anywhere. He's in-
And I want this the election of the 6 of you, not me, so I want this to be an election of the 6 of you.
I think we've got a pretty good turnout now. Most people are here.
I was saying, he never leaves town.
I know, I'm just saying.
Back, that's it.
Most of us are here all the time. Which that-
All right, first and second.
All those in favor say aye.
Roll call vote.
Requesting a roll call, okay. Dubak,
Aye.
Kern.
Nay.
Garn, Rome,
Aye.
myself abstain.
Real eye.
There's none.
Motion passes.
Move to adjourn?
Frank, one second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Everybody's all over that one.
There you go.
Let's get that one done fast.
Thank you for everyone for a little bit longer tonight. This is our presentation, but I think that gave us a lot of thinking about for the next couple months. So thank you, everyone. Have a good 4th of July. We'll see everyone after the
Oh,
4th.
you are. What meeting do you want them to come to? Do you want them to come to the next meeting?
Let me know. We have a
What I'm
ball.
hoping to do
It
is,
won't be before the 4th.
And then economic development.
so that's.
Not before the 4th.
Oh, okay.
Got it.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
So I just want whatever meeting you want them to come to.
It's up to
We got
you.
to bring back.
No, he doesn't, he can't be on, it, but he wants to come to